Tonight, a TikTok creator is guilty of killing a woman by dangerous driving.
I almost have 8 years of experience on the criminal side of the law, and I am also a criminal defence solicitor as well.
Lee Sutherland, who impersonated a lawyer and a police officer in online videos, was found to be driving far too fast at the time of the fatal collision. Also on tonight's programme, a watchdog finds plans to revamp Scotland's care system are moving too slowly, with foster parents agreeing that things need to improve.
There just isn't the funding anywhere across all services. The mental health service is in crisis, the education service is in crisis.
US prosecutors say a Libyan suspect lied about being forced into making a false confession over the Lockerbie bombing.
Coming up in tonight's sport, we'll have the latest on Rangers' search for a new manager, and we hear from the Scotland camp on the eve of a huge night in their bid to reach the World Cup.
And how a giant green tennis dome is courting controversy in Stonehaven. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. This is Reporting Scotland. A man who often pretended to be a road traffic lawyer on TikTok has been convicted of killing a pensioner in a car crash in North Lanarkshire 2 years ago. Lee Sutherland ploughed into a car being driven by 77-year-old Margaret Allen. She died from her injuries 3 weeks later. A young boy who was her passenger was also hurt. Suzanne Allen reports.
My name is Lee Sutherland and I'm based in Glasgow. I almost have 8 years of experience on the criminal side of the law, and I am also a criminal defence solicitor as well.
Lee Sutherland had numerous TikTok profiles and posted videos where he pretended to be a lawyer dispensing advice.
I've got to go and see a client today, and then I've got to go to a police station.
And also a fake police officer, head to toe in what looks like a real uniform.
Stop resisting. Stop resisting now.
During the trial, a police officer who was a witness recalled recognising him on TikTok. Just after 3 p.m. on the 15th of June 2023, at the Condorit Ring Road near Cumbernauld, Sutherland, who was driving a car with defective brakes, ploughed into a Peugeot driven by 77-year-old Margaret Allen. She was taken by ambulance to Glasgow Royal Infirmary, but died a few weeks later. A 10-year-old male passenger in the car was injured. The 31-year-old had been banned from driving for 6 months, just 1 week before the collision, and tried to leave the scene without giving his details to police officers. He is now behind bars after being found guilty of causing death by dangerous driving, following a trial at the High Court in Glasgow.
In a statement today, police said their thoughts remain with Margaret's family, who have remained dignified and strong throughout this tragic ordeal. Sutherland's actions showed a blatant disregard for other road users and the law, and since the incident, he has shown no remorse. Suzanne Allen, Reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
A lack of planning and accountability is affecting efforts to overhaul Scotland's system for children in care. That's according to a new report from Audit Scotland. The promise, a commitment to improve the lives of care-experienced children, was made by the Scottish Government in 2020. Our social affairs correspondent Chris Clements reports.
The first couple of years when I was in foster care, it was really difficult. I was on call to my mum and dad most every single day.
Louise is 14, has been in foster care for 10 years and is separated from her siblings. She spoke to the BBC about what it's like growing up in the care system.
The good bits are the people you stay with, they care about you. They help you understand the things that you don't really understand. But if your parents didn't do that and they were really young, they would be having struggles looking after you. But it's not your fault, no matter what.
Her foster parents are Anna and Richie. Since the Scottish Government's promise to bring wide-ranging reform to the care system, they've seen little improvement.
The job has changed a lot in the 17 years since we've been doing it. There just isn't the funding anywhere across all services. The mental health service is in crisis. The education service is in crisis. The government is turning to charities more and more. to fill the gaps.
The promise was introduced by Nicola Sturgeon's government 5 years ago. Its stated aim was that all Scotland's children and young people will grow up loved, safe and respected. But how that can be measured is one of the issues highlighted by today's report from Audit Scotland. Despite its aims, the report states there has been a lack of clarity about organisations' roles and responsibilities. Funding is difficult to quantify and track. And from the outset, there was no assessment of how success would be defined or measured.
The promise ultimately is that it delivers a better outcome. But in order for that to be achieved, there needs to be a real clarity about resources, about actions, which leaders are responsible, which public bodies are going to do what actions at which particular time, and those are the things that we think now need to happen.
The government, along with the agencies tasked with keeping the promise, say progress is being made, that there are fewer children in care now than there were in 2020.
I don't think it's quite as simple as being able to set out at the beginning exactly what was needed. As I've said, this is transformational change, so I don't think you can put a price tag on that. I think you have the priority and the policies that we're delivering in relation directly to the promise, but then I think we have wider issues that are also impacting on our delivery of the promise, whether that be, for example, child poverty. That is a huge factor.
Keeping the promise requires sweeping changes to a system that currently costs local authorities £1.2 billion. The report says there needs to be more momentum to change the lives of looked after children like Louise. Chris Clements, reporting Scotland.
A mother has said her son was like a zombie when he allegedly murdered his girlfriend in Shetland last year. A police officer said the man who was arrested said, "Put a bullet in me," as he was led away. The High Court in Edinburgh heard from relatives of the Canadian couple. A warning that Morag Kinniborough's report contains details you may find upsetting.
It was at their home in Sannis on Shetland where Hazel Pearson said in statements to police before she died that her son Aaron had arrived soaking wet one day in February last year. He told her he'd driven his Porsche into the sea and he just wanted to be gone.
Mrs. Pearson told police Aaron started stabbing himself in front of her. He calmly told her he had hurt his girlfriend Claire. He looked like a zombie, she said. He did not look like my son.
She said she found 24-year-old Claire Levesque in the hot tub. The water was red with blood. There were severe injuries to her face and she was groaning. Mrs. Pearson phoned for help. She said Aaron stood by staring. The High Court heard the Canadian couple had no work or money. Both were depressed, but Mrs. Pearson thought they got on well. Claire's father said she'd been excited to leave her barista job and move to Scotland, but he became very concerned when a stranger contacted him, urging him to call the police. Claire's cousin said she'd rung him weeks earlier saying Aaron was hitting her and she was scared, but soon added not to worry, they were getting along.
A police officer who tried to resuscitate Claire said the man who was arrested said, "Murderers are to be killed. Put me in the kill box and put a bullet in me," as he was led away to an ambulance. 41-year-old Aaron Pearson denies murder and 6 other charges. The trial continues. Morag Kinniborough, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
The trial of a Libyan who's accused of building the bomb which brought down Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie could be delayed a second time. Abu Aghila Massoud is due to face a jury in Washington next April, but his lawyers have asked for the start date to be pushed back. It comes as US prosecutors rejected Massoud's claim that he was forced into making a false confession over the bombing. Well, our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan is following the case for us. Dave, why do the defence want this delay?
Well, what's happened here is that the trial was supposed to have started back in May, 5 months ago. It was delayed until April next year, and the defence are now asking for it to be pushed back again so they can have more time to prepare. Massoud is being represented by a small team of public defenders. They've had to get new lawyers involved. They say they're going to have to examine over 400,000 files from a 37-year investigation. The prosecution are against the delay. They say that the longer this goes on, the more likely it will be that more of its witnesses will be unable to testify because they'll either be dead or too unwell. And they're also pointing out the advancing age of the relatives of the 270 victims. We understand that a hearing in Washington tomorrow is going to consider the timetable going forward.
And Dave, the court's also going to have to make a decision at some point over this alleged confession made by Massoud.
Yeah, Massoud is alleged to have admitted building and priming the Lockerbie bomb when he was questioned in a prison in Libya in 2012. In 2017, the Scottish Lockerbie investigation, led by the Crown Office here in Edinburgh, got hold of that statement and gave it to the Americans. The defence are now trying to have it ruled inadmissible. Masood is claiming that he was forced into making that confession by 3 masked men who had threatened him and his family. The prosecution are saying that's implausible, it's untrue. They're saying that there's plenty of evidence from other sources to corroborate what's in that highly detailed confession. One other thing to mention, the Americans are saying that Masood also talked about taking part in an aborted assassination attempt on a US Secretary of State using a booby-trapped overcoat at a state funeral in Pakistan. At some point in the coming weeks, the trial judge is going to have to decide whether the jury hears about any of this when the trial gets underway.
OK, Dave in Edinburgh, thank you. To some of the day's other stories now. The watchdog has raised serious and significant concerns about the care experienced by residents of a care home at the centre of a BBC investigation. The Care Inspectorate has ordered improvements to be made to services at Castle Hill Care Home in Inverness, or risk having its registration cancelled. Families of residents accused Castle Hill's owners of cruelty and neglect after a BBC Disclosure investigation revealed a series of care failures. Management said they are fully committed to maintaining improvements in care. John Swinney says Scottish independence would provide new opportunities to strengthen the economy and improve living standards. The First Minister was speaking at the launch of a Scottish Government paper analysing the state of the UK's economy and restating the SNP's policies for how an independent Scotland could operate. Opposition parties said Scotland's public services have suffered under the SNP and that Swinney is obsessing over the arguments of the past. The Conservative leader has told her party conference that she has a very clear North Sea policy, saying it's drill our oil and gas now. Kemi Badenoch was making her set-piece speech in Manchester. She said she isn't a climate change sceptic, but she is a net zero sceptic.
Backing nuclear, but also recognising that it is pure folly to ban new oil and gas extraction while paying to import resources that Norway takes from the very same basin. So when it comes to the North Sea, we have a very simple policy. Drill our oil and gas now.
Patients at Aberdeen's emergency department will be the first in the country to be routinely tested for blood-borne viruses. It follows a trial last year which saw patients tested for HIV and hepatitis B and C to try to diagnose them earlier. Samples will be taken from people who already need a blood test, but they can choose to opt out. Ben Phillip has the story.
Monday morning at Aberdeen's emergency department. Donovan has just arrived at the hospital.
Am I all right to do this blood-borne virus test on you, the BBV sample?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Fine. No questions.
You're okay, fine.
As part of his care, he needs a routine blood test. With his consent, a sample will also be checked for hepatitis B and C and HIV.
It's not painful at all. It's not bad, yeah.
And were you okay with needles before today?
No, but honestly, I would say everyone out there, it's just a mental game. You don't need to be scared at all, honestly, yeah.
An estimated 6,500 people are living with HIV in Scotland. Such viruses can be spread through unprotected sex and sharing needles to inject drugs.
This is something that we can do in a minimum amount of time and potentially have a huge impact in patients' lives. People live asymptomatic with lots of these viruses, and if we can detect that virus early, we can initiate treatments that are free in the NHS much earlier.
The only way to find out if someone has a blood-borne virus is by testing. If left undiagnosed, it can lead to serious illness and, in some cases, death.
Around 4,500 people were tested as part of a 3-month trial of this initiative last year. Their samples were taken to this lab, and about 25 patients were found to have a previously undiagnosed blood-borne virus.
DJ was diagnosed with HIV in 2009. His doctor said he only had 10 years to live. More than a decade on, he runs an LGBT+ charity and takes daily medication to live a normal life.
I was traumatised, you know. That still sticks with me now. My doctor telling me that I had you know, my life was over. I had 10 years to live and that was going to be it. Had this scheme been around then I would have been caught earlier and I would have been on medication sooner.
Only those who need a blood test will be offered the new checks. The Scottish Government has initially funded the scheme until the end of March 2027. Testing will start in Lothian and Glasgow by March next year. Ben Phillip, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Now, there is a bit of a stooshy in Stonehaven, and it is over. A big green thing that has gone up in the town. What is it, you might ask? It is a giant inflatable tennis court to allow play, regardless of bad weather. Good idea, you might think, but not if it's right outside your window, it seems, as Rebecca Curran explains.
With its picturesque harbour and rugged coastline, Stonehaven has long been a haven for holidaymakers and residents alike. But there's a new addition to the town's skyline that's courting controversy.
This giant green structure houses 2 tennis courts and gives players the opportunity to enjoy the sport during the winter months, whatever the weather. But it's fair to say not everyone is feeling the love.
Bob's caravan neighbours the tennis club and his view is now obstructed. He says the dome shouldn't have gone up until after the caravan season ends in a few weeks.
Caravanners, that's the top priority, is a nice site with a lovely view, and it's stress-free. When you get something like that, it's like at home if an Arctic lorry was going to come to your door, a high cider, and park right outside and block out the sunlight, you never happy.
The structure was given full planning permission in 2023 and can be inflated from the last day of September until the start of April.
Can you go cross court on that? See if you can find my backhand good.
It means more tennis time for the 360 members at Stonehaven Tennis Club, but coaches do understand concerns.
You can't argue that that is not a great view out your back of your caravan. At the same time, it will come down on the 1st of April. I think that's when people can return to their caravans after the winter, and for 6 of those 7 months that you can be in the caravan park, this won't be here.
In the town today, opinions were mixed.
I just thought it was a super idea, you know, just to give us something different in the town, maybe get more visitors. That would be fine during the winter.
It's a horrible looking thing. It just doesn't fit in there.
Just a bit shocked at the colour of it and the size of it, but yeah, it's, to me, yeah, it's good for the town, yeah.
It's really good. It gives them some flexibility, being able to play in the winter and stuff when the conditions aren't so good.
Whether it's seen as a sporting step forward or a blot on the landscape, the new dome has certainly served up a talking point. Rebecca Curran, reporting Scotland, Stonehaven.
Let's get to tonight's sport with Sheila now, and speculation continues at Ibrox.
Yeah, it's been a busy few days for them. Hello there. Rangers are expected to speak to Steven Gerrard this week about the vacant managerial position at Ibrox, and the former Liverpool midfielder is open to the idea of returning to the Premiership club. Gerrard is one of a number of candidates being considered to succeed Russell Martin, who was sacked following Sunday's 1-1 draw with Falkirk. Rangers are stepping up their search for a new coach, with interviews set to take place in the coming days. Now, on the eve of a huge night for the Scotland national team, Steve Clarke has reminded his players that the next 4 qualifiers could be their last chance to reach a World Cup. Well, so far, so good for Scotland. They've taken 4 points from the first 2 games in the small 4-nation group. Greece and Belarus are at Hampden this week, with further games against Greece and Denmark to come. Remember, only the winners will guarantee their place at next year's tournament.
Not so sure excitement, more focus, determination. The players understand that every game in a qualification process is really important, that you get as many points as you can. Obviously, the players understand what they have to do. And they feel that they should have already had that World Cup experience, but they haven't. So this is the next chance. They're all at a good age. I know you say they're old, but they're not as old as me. They don't feel that old. They know they've got a chance to be there, and some of them will go on and have chances in the future, but if you look, it's 1998 since we were last there, so every chance we have to look at is our last chance. So why not do it this time? There's nobody in this room that would have thought that Denmark would go to Greece and win 3-0. So it's a section that I think has shown that there can be some strange results. The teams are quite equally matched, so I wouldn't be surprised if Greece could go to Copenhagen and win. That's the reality of where we are. So even if we beat them, I don't think they're dead because there's still 9 points to play for.
Well, there was a light-hearted moment at this afternoon's media conference when it was put to Steve Clarke that singing superstar Katy Perry is staying in the same hotel as Scotland. While she's been on tour in Glasgow, Clarke will be hoping to hear the Hampden Roar tomorrow.
I've heard the name. I'm sure if you played a couple of your songs, I'd say, I recognise that one, but I couldn't name you one song, I'm sorry. And that's no disrespect to Katy, but I'm for a different generation.
Well, one player who might know the songs and could play a leading role against Greece is Ryan Christie, who says the squad is desperate to complete the final piece of the puzzle and qualify for a World Cup. Christie has played at the last 2 European Championships, but like his teammates, the big one has so far evaded him. 2 victories at Hampden would go a long way to ending that wait.
Everybody's just absolutely desperate to be part of a team that gets to put Scotland to a World Cup. We knew that feeling obviously before we qualified for the first Euros, and how big it was to try and kind of tick that box, and now it's been obviously a long journey we've been on as a group with this manager, and you feel like that's the only kind of piece of the puzzle left is to qualify for a World Cup.
Well, it's an intriguing qualifying group, and Scotland international Greg Taylor, who now plays in Greece, thinks tomorrow's opponents are good enough to vie for the top spot.
I think with an exciting young team, they really thought this was going to be a positive campaign for them. So it went as expected in the first game, and then the second game, I think it just shows how well the Scotland boys did in Denmark. They were more like saying how good Denmark were.
And more from Greg on the news at 7 this evening. And you can watch Scotland against Greece live on BBC Scotland tomorrow night. Maybe Katy Perry will be watching.
I was going to say, I did not expect to see Steve Clarke and Katy Perry in the same reports. I'm taking it as a good omen.
Indeed.
Thank you, Sheila. OK, on tonight's news at 7 over on the BBC Scotland channel shortly, the author Anne Cleeves explains why she's transplanted the original star of her Shetland novels to a new location, Orkney. As Cleeves explains, the adventures of Jimmy Perez in the archipelago may just be getting started.
I've had such fun writing it, and there's been such great reaction to Jimmy coming back that I think there probably will be more. And anyway, I can't wait to explore more of the islands, because I can kill people anywhere.
And now Chris is here with the weather. How's it looking?
Actually, it's largely dry, but
it's warmer though, right?
Well, average.
Yeah,
average.
okay.
Nothing like the warmth at the beginning of the week. Thanks very much indeed. Very good evening to you. We've had a fair amount of cloud around today, a few brighter glimpses coming through at times, and some patchy outbreaks of rain across the west and northwest in particular. Through this evening and overnight, that cloud sheet and those patchy outbreaks of rain just working their way southwards. Quite a breezy night. Certainly not a cold one though. Temperatures here in towns and cities 10 to 12 Celsius. So to tomorrow, you can see we've got this cold front on the chart there just working its way southwards, and that means there will be some cloud and a few spots of light rain or drizzle through parts of Ayrshire, Dumfries and Galloway, South Lanarkshire. North of here though, drier and brighter, so a bit of a north-south split with conditions tomorrow. And once again, like tonight, it will be a breezy picture with a fairly brisk westerly wind, strong at times. Mid-afternoon, here's a snapshot at 4 o'clock. Temperatures around 15 or 16 Celsius, still 1 or 2 showers perhaps down towards Ayrshire, and in the best of the sunshine in the northeast up to 17 degrees. The black arrows here indicating wind gusts, as I say, will be blustery with potentially some gale force conditions across the Northern Isles. And for the World Cup qualifier at Hampden, well, it's looking dry and certainly not cold. Coverage across the BBC. And then to Friday. Once again, it's a westerly with fairly cloudy conditions. The best of the sunshine across the northeast. We could see temperatures up to around 18 Celsius. Largely dry, lighter winds compared with tomorrow. That takes us to the weekend. High pressure is overhead, so it's going to be largely dry, but fairly cloudy at times. And this weather front likely to be trapped within that high pressure, so we could see 1 or 2 spots of light rain or drizzle, but for most, dry. So here's the picture on Saturday. Once again, mid-teen temperatures. Best chance of any brighter weather likely in the east with that wind direction. And then on Sunday, a little more in the way of brightness coming through, perhaps some early mist and fog. That should lift, again with the thickest cloud, 1 or 2 spots of drizzle, but generally dry. That's the forecast for now.
I knew it was looking okay. I should just leave you to do the forecast, shouldn't I, Chris? Thank you. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. Anne McAlpine will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. And don't forget to switch over right now for the news at 7 on the BBC Scotland channel. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.